You're listening to the HNC Let's Talk podcast, hosted by Dexter Brooks. Thanks for tuning in to HNC Let's Talk podcast. We partner with subject matter experts to provide candid conversations on health and lifestyle. Here at HNC Let's Talk podcast, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and health are all connected. This episode of HNC Let's Talk podcast is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together, we make insurance simple.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dexter Brooks. I'm your host today. Today is Friday, and it's been a hell of a week. And I think everybody knows what I was speaking of when I say that. I can say Corona time. But today we have a great guest on. Today his name is Demetrius Rayden Johnson. Demetrius is a licensed financial representative and public speaker. He frequently conducts presentations on retirement income, as well as a national training events for licensed professionals on income planning and strategies. He has been featured on My Brother's Keeper, as well as the Denver Business Journal. Demetrius, are you with me today?
I'm with you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man, besides all these kudos you got going on here with this My Brother's Keeper and on the Business Journal for Denver. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of volunteer work and a lot of community activism as of late. My career started back in 1999, and about 3 years ago, I took a departure from the commercial side of investments and retirement planning and just decided to devote a lot of my time to some community projects. Just basically wanted to leverage some of the experience I gained over the last 20 years and apply it locally.
Awesome. And how long have you been into this financial background? I mean, what makes that? Is that your passion?
Well, it's really been my passion to learn more about how money works for quite some time. And it's interesting how I kind of fell into the career. I took a very non-traditional path. I actually went right out of high school and just kind of stuck with it since then. I started making like $8.50 an hour, processing paperwork. And then at one point or another, I guess the last job that I had, I was a wealth management consultant for TIAA Crest, which is now just known as TIAA. And, back in 2008, 2009, they went through a series of layoffs. And since then, I've been really doing a lot of contract work and things like that. And I've started my own small business. We really focus on educating the community about different wealth building strategies and leveraging the products that are out there, to the client's best benefit. And so I've redirected my energies from, helping high net worth clients working at a corporation to really sitting down and talking to people in the community and having workshops and those sort of things. And so it's been an interesting journey. I guess I kind of had a midlife crisis or something like that when I turned 40. And so I said, hey, do I want to continue down this corporate path, or do I want to really be engaged and help people out in the community? And I found a way to, start a small business and really try and do some impactful things here locally in Denver. And so far, so good.
Awesome. When I had my midlife crisis, I actually just bought a motorcycle. A little bit simpler.
Well, yeah. That's what everybody's been telling me. They're like, you could have just bought a Corvette.
So tell us about your small business.
Well, the small business, originally I had set it up as an LLC, and, the goal was to just set up something to where, I could make money, right? Because after volunteering full time for like 3 years, I figured, hey, enough of this. Spent down some savings, spent down some retirement savings, and I got to a point in my plan where I said, hey, now it's time to start making some money. And when I set up my LLC, I said, that really doesn't speak to what I'm attempting to do. And I did some research, and I actually reorganized my business to a public benefit corp, which is a B corp, which is somewhere in between a nonprofit and like a C corp or an S corp. In that the goal is to make a profit. It's just a matter of what we're going to do with those profits. Those profits are earmarked to be reinvested back into communities locally. And unlike with a traditional, like a nonprofit, we're not in a position to where we're going to be asking for money. The business is self-sustaining. It's just that we're going to allocate the revenue or the net profits back into the community by way of an impact fund that is soon to be set up and just various projects that I'm working on.
Wow. So now that we are in this tremendous downfall in the stock, as you know, and this is a little bit, personally, the way I look at it, I know the coronavirus is playing a little part of that, but I also feel like we was about to hit a recession point anyway. There always comes a point where that bubble does burst. And I think the virus sort of hit right before that bubble actually burst and sort of like sped it up a little bit. So
I would have to agree. I agree with that 100%.
As a financial advisor, more than less of a representative, I was an advisor. What do you recommend for people at this time? Do they invest? Do they pull out? I mean, I've known a lot of people been talking about pulling out. Do they reinvest and wait?
Well, it really depends on your situation. Number one rule of investing, right, is to buy low and to sell high.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been my observation over the last 20 years that, people are emotional investors, and they tend to do exactly the opposite of that. Everybody wants to get in the market when it's going up and things are going well. And, by the time things are really peaking and everybody's getting excited about things, people that aren't currently in the market or aren't actively participating, they start seeing it in the news and they want to participate. So they get in. And, the most recent series of events has led to those people that got in when things were, raging and we're at top of the market, times. Now they're kind of seeing the downside of that. And so just depending on where you're at, if you've got a long time horizon, you're 20, 30 years away from retirement. Some people are seeing this as a definite buy opportunity. Value investors are looking at stocks that have been around for quite some time, and they're basically seeing that they're on discount. Now, those people that, are right about to retire or set 2020 as a retirement year, those are some of the people that are going through more of the tough times because they're in a position to where they might have to put off retirement for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
or they might have to start drawing down their retirement at a slower rate than they had originally expected. So, just depending on who I'm talking to, when I talk to clients, we have enough buckets of money in different places to where they're not limited to having to pull money out of the stock market or their retirement account, their investment accounts necessarily. So, it's good to have that flexibility of having multiple buckets of money to pull from depending on what current market conditions are going on.
So now there's so many different ways of investing. Can you shed some light on this, try to simplify that? I mean, like you got your 401ks, you got your Roths, you got this direct stock. It can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming for some people.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. When I first started in the industry and I started getting these securities licenses and things, one of the first things that I thought is that this information needs to be taught to people. There's some basic information that people need to know about. And, what types of investment vehicles and what tax advantaged investment products and vehicles are available to you is very important. And most people, their first experience with investing in the market revolves around an employer-sponsored plan, which traditionally tends to be a 401k plan, which is named after a tax code. People wonder, why is it called 401k? It basically has to do with the IRS tax code. And, sometimes you put money in, they come out of your payroll, and sometimes the employer matches if your employer's in a position to do that. And so there's some free money to be had there. And 401ks, they're starting to get, a lesser of a good name than they did. And that mainly has to do with some fees that people might not be aware of. But, all in all, if your employer is contributing or doing some sort of match, that's some of the only free money that you're going to get. So I generally encourage my clients to participate in any plan where they're getting free money. And so I generally like it, when people are participating in that 401k. And so, for the tax advantages and for that money that you're getting from your employer, you might as well take advantage of that. So, there's the 401k there. And then, there's traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. And depending on when you want to be taxed on your money, a Roth IRA might be more suitable or traditional. Nowadays, people are really leaning towards that Roth IRA because, the money is put into an account. You've already paid taxes on that money. It's come out, out of your paycheck. And then, you have your paycheck, you cash it, and then you throw some money into this Roth IRA. And when you go to pull that money out later on, the idea is that you will not be taxed on any of the earnings. And so, the opposite end of that, or the alternate side to that, is the traditional IRA, which is where, you're able to put money into this account, but you're able to reduce your adjusted gross income by the amount that you contribute to this IRA. And the benefit or the idea there was, and the traditional IRA came about first. It was created first. And so the idea was that, you're able to reduce your income and contribute to this IRA. And then when you retire and you're not working anymore, your income level, your reportable income is down, or is at zero because you've retired. But when you pull money out of the IRA, they would tax it as income at that time, but you're at a lower tax rate because you are no longer working, was the idea. And so
and that's the traditional versus the Roth, correct?
That's correct. That's the traditional versus the Roth. That's one of the most common questions that I get is, what's the difference between a traditional and a Roth? And it's very simple. It's just a matter of, do you need that tax reduction on your adjusted gross income, or is it more valuable for you to, already have been taxed on this money, put it into an account, and then not have to worry about being taxed on it later on, because we don't know what the tax laws are going to be in 20 or 30 years.
Correct.
And so to have the ability to pull out all your earnings from money that you made a long time ago is very beneficial, especially to young people, because they have time on their side.
So can anyone invest into the market, basically? Is there is there a certain age you have to be before you open up a Roth account? Is there a certain age you jump into the market?
No, I think the earlier, the better. If you take a snapshot of the S&P 500 or the Dow, whatever index that you want to look at to determine the financial stability or growth of, the stock market and our economy, you take any 20-year period and it's going to be on and up. You're going to end on and up. Even, when you're looking at 2008, 2009, if you were to look 20 years prior to that, the market was still up. So, when you have time on your side, it's hugely beneficial. And so far as age goes, I recommend that people get started as soon as possible to participate in the economic growth of the country. to participate in it. We tend to want to be consumers and we want to feed into the system, but we also need to participate in the overall growth, change the mindset of, from consumer to investor. My grandfather would always say, invest in the things that you buy, yep. And years and years later, I found some truth to that. Companies that we know have been around for some time, tend to be a little bit more stable. But so far as when you should invest, I've got a 12-year-old daughter. She has an account. So,
awesome.
By the time she's, 65, I can say with a fair degree of certainty that the market will be better off than where it is now, And so I think the sooner the better, especially in communities of color. I think that, I'm a big believer in that a rising tide raises all ships. And so, I think that as minorities, we need to participate in the growth of this economy. And it's quite timely that we're having this conversation now, because, everything's on sale. Yes, people are going through a lot of heartache and they're looking at their 401k accounts and it has been disrupted. But one of the great things about, say, for instance, a 401k plan is that you're putting that money in there systematically. That money's coming out every paycheck.
Correct.
And so when you are making purchases at the bottom of the market, that can be hugely beneficial.
And plus, you don't miss it.
You don't miss it. The money's coming out pre-tax, and it's always been coming out. You don't miss it. And so those people that invest consistently over long periods of time tend to fare better.
Awesome. Now, when you think about investing, and how do a person decide on what to invest in? Because you have stock that are domestic, you have stocks that are international, you have the mixture of different companies. What do you recommend? How would a person actually decide to do that?
And that's where my job comes into place. I recommend that people seek the guidance of a licensed professional. Mm-hmm. Not your uncle, not some guy off of Facebook, not somebody, trying to sell something, to you. And, someone that you trust and that knows what they're doing. It's important to seek guidance. For people like me, it's my job to be looking at the market and paying attention to it and readjusting portfolios and that kind of thing. Most people, that's not their job. It's not something that they're actively thinking about. And so I recommend that people seek the guidance of a professional one way or the other. It's also important, in my opinion, that you seek the counsel of a fiduciary, someone who is obligated to act in your best interest.
So that's basically what the definition of a fiduciary is. The person is basically obligated.
They're obligated to do what's best for you. And so,
awesome.
It's been my experience, different people have different licenses. You have your Series 6 and your Series 7, and these are brokers, and their job is to help facilitate the purchase and sale of investment products. And they're paid a commission to do that. Okay. Just like your real estate broker or your car broker or whatever. These people are selling stocks or they're selling, whatever investment products. Now, at this time, they do not have a fiduciary responsibility. Okay. They're just a broker. They're just selling something and getting a commission, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are people that have like a Series 65, which is an investment advisor's license, which is different than a broker, or even life insurance agents are considered fiduciaries. These are people that, again, are obligated to do what's best for you. They're not there just to help facilitate the purchase and sale of something and to collect a commission. They, you might pay an investment advisor, a fee, or they might charge you a percentage of assets that they're managing for you. And that's one of the challenges that I ran across in dealing in minority markets. And that's one of the reasons why I started my business, was because the compensation structure is not conducive, in my opinion, to having investment advisors or people that are, you see CFP, which is a certified financial planner, after people's names. Those people aren't necessarily motivated to work in the middle class, because the prevailing way that they are compensated is by a percentage of assets under management. And so, you come to an investment advisor with $50,000 and they're charging you 0.5% or 1%, and they're not making very much money annually off of you. So consequently, they tend to hold themselves out as wealth management consultants, or, whatever title, arbitrary title they want to give themselves. But, because of their compensation structure, they're in a particular model and have to deal with a particular type of client. And, those people that are Series 6 and Series 7, while they're able to help facilitate the purchase and sale of investments, they're not someone that is generally going to be looking at overall financial well-being.
Gotcha. That's pretty interesting, because most people don't think about where to go or how to get started, more or less. Now, if someone wants to come into looking for an advisor, looking for you as an advisor, what is it they need to bring to get started if they wanted to invest?
Well, if they were wanting to invest with me, and again, my platform is a little bit different than most, and I think it's very important that clients are aware of how their advisor is compensated. I think that's extremely important, okay? And so for me, because I deal with middle America, I've chosen to position things in such a way that I'm compensated through the life insurance products that I place with clients, because I feel like, after 20 years in the industry, I really feel like when you build a solid financial plan, that life insurance must be included in that. Okay. And so on my platform, I'm paid by, I'm an independent life insurance broker, so I can shop the market and not necessarily be biased by any company specifically that I work for. And so when I place life insurance business, for a client, those insurance companies pay me a commission. My clients don't pay me. The investment guidance, and I have to be very careful in the language here, the investment guidance that I give middle class folks, I do that on a complimentary basis. If we're already doing business with life insurance, I don't need to also charge you again for the investments, and nor do I recommend any commissioned investment products. Most of the recommendations that I make nowadays are not individual stocks. I'm no longer creating, investment portfolios individually. It's been proven that passive money management is just as good, if not better, than active portfolio management. And what that means is, we have different products nowadays. We have exchange traded funds and index funds. We're not limited to just stocks and bonds. And, because most middle class people can't afford to buy a share of, Berkshire Hathaway, or Apple, or, Alphabet, as they call it, as the parent company, for Google. Most people middle class people don't have enough money to buy a bunch of shares of that. And so, nowadays people are leaning more towards exchange traded funds and index funds. And what those do is they look at a particular sector of the market, like the healthcare sector or the technology sector, and people are able to participate in portions or parts of the market. And so you can create a portfolio of exchange traded funds, which will further diversify your risk as well. And so spread your risk across a number of sectors of the market. So, to answer your question, how do you get going and how much money do you need? For the clients that talk to me, if they have enough money to set aside to protect their families and to purchase some life insurance, my clients don't pay me directly. And when it comes to the investment side and the retirement planning side of things, opening an account at Schwab or Fidelity, or, I have clients that use Robinhood. I have clients that, they use all sorts of new, apps that, they want to use to participate in the market. But I just give guidance on that. They might call me and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And because of the long-term relationship that I have with my clients, and the fact that most of my clients at one point or another have, purchased life insurance from me, I don't charge them for any of the investment guidance at all. You can open up a Roth IRA, for, $25, $50 a month, and, I don't charge people to help them set that type of account up.
That's pretty good.
I don't charge them I don't charge them to help them with their 401k and any of that kind of stuff, because the people that I talk to, the more that they pay in fees in a very indirect way reduces their return on their investments. And so I try to operate as efficiently and as low cost as possible.
And that is a great structure, because especially when the people of color don't think about life insurance. It's always something they think about when it's time to die versus purchasing life insurance when you're younger, because it's lower cost. Is that correct, when you're younger?
Yeah, it's much lower cost. There's a huge benefit to purchasing life insurance at an early age. You can seal in your insurability, because heaven knows, my daughter's 12 years old. She has a life insurance policy, and people in the Black community, I don't know where this got started, but there's this misconception that when you buy life insurance on kids, or if you buy life insurance on your parents or your spouse, that you are expecting them to die, or you're speaking that into existence or something like that. And I think we need to,
I've heard that before, it's like,
we got to get rid of that. We got to stop thinking of life insurance in that way, because life insurance is one of those tools, that has, quite frankly, not always been available to the Black community. And it's a tool that we have to use. Life insurance has been around, since the 1600s in this country. And, overseas, there have been different forms of life insurance even before that. But, when when you don't own yourself, you can't buy life insurance on yourself.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the conversations, in the Black community that I oftentimes have, is that, we will say, Black Lives Matter, and we need to put pen to paper. My life insurance policy is a physical attestation of that, that, should I die prematurely, my daughter should be compensated, because unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at things, we do live in a capitalist society. And so, everything can be attributed a dollar value of some sort, and that includes our life. And so, when minorities pass away prematurely, if you don't have life insurance, then there's very little economic impact, for one, and two, it's a lost opportunity to create generational wealth within your family. And so, people have been using life insurance for quite some time to create wealth and to free their families of financial burden of debt and, fund college education and do all sorts of things. So I think that, within communities of color especially, we need to have a very candid conversation about the importance of life insurance. It's a very valuable financial tool that I feel like is underutilized.
Yeah. I definitely do agree with that, because I didn't learn about life insurance until I was in my teens. So, you would think people would start talking about it with their kids early on, because like you said, it is an investment tool.
Yeah, it's an investment tool, and I have to be careful because I'm licensed that you can't call life insurance an investment. Life insurance is actually the opposite of an investment, but in a very casual way, it is an investment in yourself. Depending on what type of life insurance you purchase, there are dividends that can be received over a long period of time. You have access to cash and things like that. And so it's a very valuable tool. It's something that, you want to talk to someone about. I recommend that people don't go to 1-800-buyinsurance.com and those kind of things because, there's life insurance strategies. There's a craft to, creating what a good life insurance plan.
So don't just buy a life insurance policy to have a box to bury yourself in. That's basically what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. A lot of conversation is, hey, let's not do the GoFundMe so that, we have to bury someone asking for money on social media. That's part of it. That's part of it, but it's not all of it. Our lives do have value. I mean, I'm 40 years old. And so when actuaries look at life insurance and they evaluate how much my life is worth, because you can only buy so much life insurance, and that's for a reason. They won't, you can't just buy millions and millions of dollars of life insurance. It's because there are calculations that go into play. You can go invest all you want. You can go put your money in the market all you want, but you can only buy so much life insurance. And so that's for a reason. And I want people to think about why that is. And it's in part because actuaries have determined, based on your income and your health and how old you are and a number of other factors, how much your life is worth. And so
now I understand life insurance is underwritten, so it's better. I would say, do you think it's better for people to buy it at a younger age because there's no pre-existing that's listed?
Exactly. And I think that to get back to the question that you asked before, that we're talking about with investing or buying life insurance on kids. Absolutely. When you buy life insurance at a young age, you're sealing in your insurability, because you get to 40, 50, 60 years old, you may not be able to buy life insurance. You go to the doctor and, you've got a cough, or you got something, and they diagnose you with something.
Think about this, not to cut you off, but this is a good point in time because we're now under a national emergency.
Right.
And we're under a national emergency for a coronavirus.
Right.
And if you think about the amount of people that they say will be affected by this, so if a person gets affected by this, never had insurance, say they're 40 years old, never had insurance, end up getting placed into the hospital, then they pull through the virus, they go back out, they get back into their life, then they want to purchase insurance. Doesn't that put a red flag on their insurance?
Absolutely it does. What happens is life insurance companies have a direct connection to the health insurance. I don't know. They call it the MIB.
Medical Information Bureau.
Yes, not the Men in Black, but the Medical Information Bureau. Yes. They're kind of like the Men in Black in that, they know a lot of stuff about you. And so when you go buy life insurance and you've been hospitalized, they're going to say, oh, what's been going on with you? And so the actuary and the life insurance company, their whole job is to help, assess risk to the company. And so, when you go buy homeowners insurance or car insurance, you don't do that after you've been in an accident or while your house is on fire. You don't go buy homeowners insurance. They're not going to cover you. And the same stands true for yourself.
Yeah.
You go to the hospital, there's something wrong with you, then you go seek out life insurance. That's not the correct order of operations. You have to do it the other way around. Buy life insurance before things start going wrong. And so, yeah, life insurance on kids is something that I am a proponent of, and I'll defend that position all day long.
Now, what's the name of your company?
The name of my company is called D Squared Financial Group, and we are located in Denver, downtown Denver, and basically we are a group of financial professionals that specialize in various disciplines. Anywhere from estate planning attorneys, we've got life insurance agents, we've got investment professionals, and they don't necessarily work for D Squared Financial Group. They're a part of the group, and they're all resources that can be used. So when I talk to someone about life insurance and we talk about investments and stuff, oftentimes we'll have questions about wills, about a trust that maybe you need to be set up. I know about trusts. I know about the importance of having a will, but I don't help to facilitate that. I stay in my wheelhouse. So what I will do is I'll put them in contact with someone who does know how to create wills and trusts. They need help with their taxes. I send them to the, one of the 3 or 4 people that I deal with that helps with taxes. And so because we all work together, we can, present a holistic approach to an individual's financial needs. And so when you've got your estate planning attorney, talking to your tax person, talking to your investment and your life insurance person, it increases the likelihood of success of the overall plan.
And what's your website?
It's dsquaredfinancial.com. And, the site has recently launched, and, within that site, people are able to get a login to some of the financial planning software that I use with clients. That's something that is free of charge. And the reason that I make that free of charge is because it's a tool that I have found to be useful. And whether they're going to be a client of mine or not, it's important that they get their finances in order. And so that tool, the first part of a plan, is to organize things. You want to organize things, come up with a plan, and then implement that plan. And the software is the means by which we can be operating on the same platform. And, I can see what's going on with, their budget and that kind of thing. And we can come up with, some sort of plan, because in dealing with middle income folks, the number one pushback that you get as an advisor is, well, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money to invest. I don't have enough money for life insurance. And so part of the service that I provide is to help streamline their finances, help to get rid of any type of overlap that they might have going on. Sometimes people are paying for things 2 and 3 times when they don't need to. And, optimize your finances. And then we can identify ways that we can free up some money to help you participate in the market and to make sure that your family is adequately protected against, loss of a job, premature death, or some sort of, health crisis. Health crisis along with student loan debt, will bankrupt you very, very quickly. It's one of the top 3 or top 5 things that will affect your financial life and your retirement plan is unforeseen health problems. You get sick and you have to be hospitalized, and you deplete, all of your savings and that, next thing you do is you start pulling money out of your retirement account. And there's other ways to handle that. If you have a proper plan in place, then, those medical emergencies and things can be taken care of without having to dip into retirement savings and other things. We don't, we want to help people to, avoid being victims of what I consider in some cases, a predatory financial system that we live in a lot of ways. If our system caters to people that have a lot of money. A lot of people that, have the best credit score and don't really have to worry about credit and other things are people that, they have assets and they have money. It's the people that need to borrow money that tend to be on the struggling end of things. And so we want to make sure to protect against all of the things that could happen while you are on this path of wealth. Every client that I talk to is on two very distinct paths. And one path is the protection path. And that's to protect against, again, premature death, loss of a job, health, those types of things. And the second path is the wealth accumulation path. One of those paths can be taken care of and handled instantaneously and needs to be maintained ever so often, and that's the protection path. The wealth accumulation path is something that happens over, a long period of time. You don't just put some money into an investment account and then all of a sudden, you have enough money to retire. It takes time. The protection piece is something that can be put into place instantaneously. So I don't even, I generally don't even take on clients or give investment guidance to clients that don't have life insurance as part of their plan in one way or another.
Got you. Now, I understand that you've been working on a very, very special project.
Oh, yes.
You want to share a little bit about that with us today?
Yeah, I will share that with you. So I'm really excited. I've been appointed by the governor, Jared Polis, and recommended by the state treasurer, Dave Young, to sit on a board that is going to help create a retirement plan that is specific to Colorado. Okay. And it's the Colorado Secured Savings Plan. And what it is basically a means by which people are able to open up a Roth IRA through their employer, which normally is not done, and having payroll deduction put into the Roth IRA. Okay. By definition, an IRA is an individual retirement account. So you don't see those attached to businesses very often at all. And so, the goal with this secured savings plan is to reach small businesses and their employees and give them access to a retirement plan where they might not have one. So
wow.
Most small businesses, if you're 5 employees or 10 employees or even 20 employees, you may not have a 401k in place because it costs money to set up a 401k, and it can be quite cost prohibitive for small businesses. Now, with this secured savings plan, the idea is that you're able to maybe work in the gig economy, as they call it, whether it's Uber or whatever it is, or you may, be working for a small business owner in your community, and you're able to invest in this IRA account and have it done through payroll deduction, similar to a 401k, and make it to be something to where it's automatic, where you're not thinking about it, and it's not a hassle, and that it's easy. We want to, make sure that people have access to the tools that they need and put it right in front of them. One of the points of contention behind this bill that was passed and this product that we are creating is that by default, we want it to be an auto enroll thing, to where when people, set this up, that it's assumed that everybody wants to set up for, save for retirement. So it's going to be an automatic deduction. Now, you can opt out of it. It's not a forced deduction, but it isn't assumed that, when you go work for this employer and you set it up, that it's just automatically going to come out of your paycheck. Okay. And so I see that as being a really good thing. It's a bipartisan issue. We've got support on both sides. I'm not hugely, politically involved, but when it comes to making sure that the community that I serve has access to quality products, this is one of the things that I'm really involved in. Other states have implemented similar plans, like in Oregon, California, and a number of other states are working on similar plans. And so, I think that this is a really good opportunity for the small businesses to, one, help retain employees. The more benefit that you offer to your employees, the better.
True.
And this will be seen as an employee benefit of sorts. And, it helps people that otherwise may not be participating in the market have easy access and resources to do so. So it's called the Colorado Secured Savings Plan. There's a website up on the Treasurer's website, and it gives meeting notes, and so you can follow along. All the meetings are open to the public. We've just finished the research side of things. So we were charged, our board of directors, or the board, was charged with researching 3 different types of models that might be appropriate for Colorado, and then also doing research on, or causing research to be done on the cost of doing nothing. And the cost of doing nothing was too great. And so, so far as impact to the state, because if people are not properly planning for retirement, then they tend to be more dependent on government programs.
Correct.
Okay? And by having people not adequately planning for savings, that's a larger drain on on the system, having to support those people. And so that argument, I think, was what helped some people get on board and make it more bipartisan, is to say, hey, in the long run, this is going to save the state money. And so potential, I think it was, don't quote me here, but I think it was a potential $10 billion impact over the next 15 years. And so, after we had all the research done, the facts could not be denied that the cost of doing nothing was greater than the cost of doing something. And that something came in the form of a recommendation that was presented to the governor not too long ago. So, I advise people to stay on top of that. Keep a lookout for it in the news, and it's a great opportunity for those people that maybe haven't set up their own Roth IRA or don't have a traditional IRA, and maybe just want to have it be something that comes out of their payroll. So if you work for a company that doesn't currently offer a 401k or retirement plan, this may be an option for you, and maybe an option for the employer. So keep a lookout for that. And I'm really proud of the work that we've been doing on it so far. And I think that we can build something that's going to be really impactful for first-time investors and small business employees.
Now, when exactly does that launch out into, or when is, I guess, because they have to vote on it, then it becomes available to the public?
Well, based on where we're at right now with completing the research, the next phase is the construction of the plan that we have recommended, which is basically this auto-enroll Roth IRA account. Okay. And so, we have to pick vendors, and we have to pick investment products, and we have to, actually create the thing. And so that's where we're at now. Now, things, I think, have been put on a little bit of pause as a result of recent events, and pandemics and things. And so things have kind of been, put on hold for a little bit. But as soon as we get past this, the work will begin again, and we will begin crafting this plan. And I think that, again, I think it's going to be a huge benefit. It's going to be something that people will look back on, in 20, 30 years and say, hey, this really, created some impact. I was around a long time ago when there was this thing called EGTERRA. I forgot, it's the economic growth and tax something. I forget what it was, retirement and tax something. And it was, I think Bush put that into place a long time ago, and it set forth some standards for retirement accounts. And, it was a good thing. But now I think that our economy has changed, and we need to come up with new solutions for people to retire and participate in the market. We're at a very interesting time in our financial history here in the United States, and I think that we need to come up with products and services that accommodate what's going on right now and that are beneficial for people right now. People slowly started to graduate away from the traditional IRA and started graduating, toward the Roth IRA that was created, years after the traditional IRA. And people have begun, over quite some time, been moving a little bit more away from investing in individual stocks. We had individual stocks, and then they created mutual funds. And they said, all right, well, we're going to put all these stocks together in a portfolio and have a team of experts, determine what's this best portfolio, and we're going to have a bunch of people invest in these mutual funds, and the portfolio managers will manage these funds, and that was the prevailing way that people invested. Most 401ks still have people in mutual funds, and they probably will for a little while longer. But now people are starting to pay more attention to those index funds and the exchange traded funds, because there aren't individuals, human beings, managing these portfolios. It's all done by computers, and what they're doing is they're mirroring that market. They're mirroring that sector of the market, and it's done electronically. And so consequently, the overhead is a lot less on exchange traded funds and index funds. It costs less to invest in them than it does your average mutual fund. And so I'm seeing this shift from mutual funds into exchange traded funds and into index funds. And so, we just want to be cognizant. We want to make sure that people are using the most beneficial tools. We don't want here in 2020, 2025, people still using, outdated investment products and not being as efficient with their dollars as they can. As things get more competitive and more companies enter the industry, it drives the price down. And so even investment advisory prices go down. We've seen trading costs go down. There was a time where I worked at Charles Schwab, and, they would say, hey, we could do away with trading commissions altogether if we wanted to, because they're compensated in a number of different ways. But we're slowly starting to see those trade commissions go down as well as the investment advisory fees. And that's because of a lot more competition and efficiency in the marketplace. So I definitely advise that people, educate themselves on what's available to them, and then also make sure to partner with someone that you trust that has some experience. It's so important. It's so important that you talk to someone that has experience, because when I first got into this industry and I said, hey, I want to build a book of, there was a time where I said, hey, I want to build a book of business. It was right in the middle of a 20-year career or so. And, I was in my 20s, and, someone that's 65 years old or, even 55, they tend not to want to trust a 20-year-old that only has, 5 or 6 or 10 years of experience. I took a very non-traditional route into the industry. I went straight out of high school, and that's how, people are asking me, how are you, 41 years old with 20 years of investment experience? Well, when you start when you're 18, that's how that happens. And so I didn't go to school until, after I started in the industry, which is not common, I guess. And so, I definitely recommend that people seek the counsel of people that have had the opportunity to see a couple of market cycles, because, 2-3 years in the game, your knowledge and skill set is limited. And so I definitely lean on my experience when I deal with my clients, and it proves to be pretty beneficial for both them and for me. I tend to keep more clients if, if I'm using what I know to their benefit.
So, Demetrius, how can our listeners contact you?
Well, they can call me, 720-722-1290. That's our business number. They can go to the website, dsquaredfinancial.com. Over the last 3 years, with a lot of the volunteer work that I've been doing, I've been working on some search engine optimization. I found that I've become somewhat Google, searchable. My daughter says, search it up. That's a term that I'm learning, is search it up. And so you can definitely search up D Squared Financial Group. Do a Google search or ask Siri, and I'm easily found that way. And so is D Squared Financial Group. So definitely do that search. I'm also on social media quite a bit. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I definitely encourage people to reach out to me on both of those media platforms. I give updates. I don't, necessarily give investment advice on those platforms, or guidance, but I definitely do some education, and, we do have discussions and things. And so one of the things that I'm going to be setting up here soon, in light of recent events, is something that I did years ago, which was Financial Freedom Fridays. And so I'll be hosting some online, community conversations about, what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the market, ways to protect yourself, both, financially with your retirement portfolio, and then also protecting yourself, on the insurance side, just because I'm such a big believer in that.
Well, we need to definitely tie into that. That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. It's going to be cool. I want it to be, something that's interactive, that people can ask questions, because, sometimes I take it for granted that, most of all of my adult life has been dealing with investments in retirement planning and life insurance. And so, sometimes I just assume that people know certain things, and that's something that, I have to train myself to not do, because most people don't know, about how the stock market works, the difference between stocks and bonds, and the difference between pre and post-tax contributions, and tax, being taxed now and tax deferred. Knowing those things is helpful, whether you are working with me as a client or not. There's a base level of knowledge that I think that everyone should have. And I'm working on getting financial literacy put into the school district here, because it's something that I think that needs to be taught in the schools as well. A lot of this stuff, can be taught to, high school kids. I mean, I have a platform that's called First Portfolio. And, when my clients come on board and become clients, if they have children, I have a platform that can teach their children about, how to create their first, investment portfolio.
Absolutely.
That can show them about how to budget, and show them, the long-term effects of financial decisions that they make today. And so, I have found that if you make it fun, if you gamify it, a little bit, that, kids will get involved. And I think that, especially high school kids, as they are about to enter the real world, whether that's through college or going to work or going off to the military or starting a business or whatever they're going to do, I like to catch those kids before they leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
So when I take on clients, I make sure that their kids participate in that First Portfolio platform.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to get ready to wrap up this episode. So let me ask you one more thing.
Sure.
On closing, what is your advice?
My advice is that people actively participate in building wealth for their family, maintaining their assets. Having life insurance and having a good financial plan can help people to retain assets. And so folks don't have to start over every generation. One of the reasons that I got into this industry was because my grandfather was a father of, 10 kids, and he was signing his will on his deathbed.
Wow.
And, we want to prevent that type of thing, from happening to other people. At least I want to. And so, my parting piece of advice is to participate in this economy and to protect the value that is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Awesome.
educate yourself.
Awesome. All right, Demetrius, I want to thank you for joining us today on HNC Let's Talk podcast. I do look forward to having more podcasts with you down the road. You got a lot going on, and I'm more than certain that our audience would love to hear about everything that you're doing and reach out to you as well. And again, this is Dexter Brooks with HNC Let's Talk podcast. And Demetrius, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.